what was the response like from parents and children?
Oh, overwhelming. Fantastic response. And I have to say also big thanks to the team that worked on this project, and the fact that we had a very energetic, very capable team who put this all together. And then, as you know, we had a cash bingo at the end, and that also went very well, created a lot of interest and excitement, and we are really very happy with how that went. And so I just want once again to thank all who came out and gave their support, to especially the young fathers who came and supported. There was lots to eat and drink, card games, worry, dominoes, everything was there, and we all had a very, very relaxing and a very enjoyable time.
Well, you said bingo. I see you now making an announcement that you're now having another bingo for not only the fathers in your community, but for everyone. Was that as a result of what happened last weekend?
Well, yes. The fact is, the bingo was so successful that we've decided to put on another bingo on Saturday, the 9th of July. But this time, this is not for Father's Day or anything of the sort. This is now a bingo that we're putting on as a fund. I'm sorry. This is a bingo we're putting on as a fundraiser. So on Saturday, the 9th of July, the St. John City East branch will be hosting a cash bingo. We will let you know what the cash prize is going to be.
So
and
jackpot.
What the jackpot is going to be. And we are looking forward to welcoming persons now, not just from the City East constituency, but from all over Antigua. So mark the date, Saturday the 9th of July, bingo in St. John's City East. Come on, you may just be that lucky jackpot winner.
Okay, and in a time like these when money is, we all look forward to that jackpot bingo. But as you are announcing, and I think we should let it early in the program, persons have been asking what next is coming from the UPP. Rallies planned for next week. Perhaps we can, we can shed some light on that.
I know there is pent-up demand for the next UPP rally. And so on the 30th, that's next week Thursday, so there'll be no Captain's Corner. That's next week Thursday, we'll be at the King George grounds in Grace Farm, and that will be our next UPP rally. We expect to have fantastic speakers. The theme for the rally will be UPP, the right choice for your pocket. UPP, the right choice for your pocket. And that's very important for us, where we want to be able to show that we have the right policies, we have the right programs, and our focus will be to make life more affordable for our people. And so next week, Thursday, you will hear our speakers speak on different aspects where UPP will be the right choice for your pocket. So that's next week Thursday down at the King George V grounds. We want to welcome and invite everyone to come out and hear the speakers from the United Progressive Party as we put forward our people-oriented policies, which are aimed at making life more affordable and making things better for the people of Antigua and Barbuda.
And it's important to note that the restrictions that we had in the past have all been lifted. So it's not just a drive-in rally. It's the rally as we knew it in the past, where you can actually come in your bus loads to be part of what's happening on the ground.
That's right. Yeah. So we want everybody to carpool if you have to carpool, do whatever you have to do. But we want to really welcome everyone to come out next week, Thursday, down to Grace Farm, where we're going to be holding our rally. Okay,
so it's next Thursday, the 30th of June, King George V grounds. And as you said, you'll hear the promotion going forward. But let us look back. Last week, for the past week, there has been an exchange of mails, for want of a better term, between you and the executive director of the Social Security Scheme. What's your response to the response that he gave?
Well, as most persons may have noticed, we put out a statement in response to the letter that he sent to me. And in that statement, we said it confirmed our worst fears. And we always suspected that the government was not doing for Social Security what they needed to do. You know, there are three areas that we focused on. The first area had to do with contributions. We always knew that the government was making contributions, and that's what the government is legally required to do. But contributions alone cannot carry the Social Security scheme. And so in 2010, as you may know, we had structured a bond which merely brought together the debts that were owed by the government to Social Security as a result of 28 years of delinquency by the then Antigua Labour Party government. Because of their delinquency in taking the money from the workers and not putting it in, it really put Social Security in a very bad way. And then, to make matters worse, as you would have heard in a recent clip from Mr. Max Hurst, and I hope people get a chance to hear him with their own ears, they saw the money, didn't understand that this money was for the benefit of pensioners who today would require that money. They saw the money, took it up and used it. I heard his own voice. He was saying, oh, they had lots of money in many different accounts. And so all that they could think of doing is huffing that money, taking that money. So eventually in 2010 under the UPP, what we did is we brought everything together, the amount that they had not paid in, the arrears, as well as what they had borrowed. It all came up to 550 million EC dollars, 330 of which was a bond. And that bond carried a step-up interest. Started at 1% interest and went right up to 6% interest, which kicked in 2021. Now, the government is required to make half-yearly payments on that bond. Not just the flat amount, because you know, like if you go to the bank and you borrow 300 million or 300,000, you're not going to pay back the bank 300,000. You're going to, it's principal plus interest. So in all, Social Security would be repaid something in the region of between $650 and $700 million. Deliberately done in order to make the Social Security scheme sustainable, so that today the pensioners would be able to get their money, so that the short-term beneficiaries, like people with sickness benefit and the maternity benefit, so that they'll be able to get their money. What this government did, they took the Navy base and they gave it to Social Security to carry down the principal on the bond. So they're saying, hold this, that's your payment. That was an act that was unconscionable. It's scandalous, because what Social Security needs is cash. They need money. And I can say, during our period, not only did we pay our contributions, we paid the payments on the bond in terms of the half-yearly payments, but in addition to that, we put in $30 million in hard cash. And because we're able to do that, some of the problems that arose during the global economic crisis, we were able to fix those problems, deal with them, put everything on a sound footing so that we could go forward. So yes, there were difficulties, but what we did, we addressed those difficulties and put systems in place so that we would take care of those who are most in need. And our pensioners are among those who are most in need. They're amongst the most vulnerable. They're the ones who need the money. So that letter from Mr. David Matthias, it confirmed everything that we'd been saying. And I say it every time, but I want to say it again. Our issue is not with the management and staff of Social Security. They're doing a job and they've been given a basket to carry water. we put the responsibility and the blame on the government of Antigua and Barbuda, because they're the ones who have the responsibility to ensure that Social Security is properly funded by making the payments on the bond in cash. And just to finish off, I just want to explain what I'm saying in terms of what it means. If you get a loan and you're supposed to pay back cash to whichever bank you owe, you cannot take maybe 2 new bicycles that you got from overseas and go to the bank and say, hold these 2 bicycles and carry down the principal on my loan. They will laugh at you, because that is not what the agreement is. What the agreement would have been is for you to pay cash. And that's why we're saying the government needs to step up to the plate. They need to put cash into Social Security and bring the perilous state of Social Security to an end, and bring this terrible suffering that they're causing our people to an end as well.
You have gone on record to say that there needs to be a sit down in terms of the restructuring, in terms of where we go, how do we go forward in fixing Social Security's problem. Do you care to reiterate at this time? Because it is not he said, she said, one writes, one responds. What would you say going forward needs to happen for that fix at Social Security?
Yeah. Well, the basic thing is not that complicated. They need to make the payments on the bond. They need to make the half-yearly payments. The interest rate at this time would be 6%, and so they need to make those payments. And in addition, they need to inject cash into Social Security. They need to we had committed, and we said that during the early part of the pandemic, we said that we would initially put $20 million into Social Security as a new government. That would be a priority, because we believe that would be necessary in order to stabilize the situation and to put Social Security on a proper footing. So we're committed to that, to paying the bond, paying the interest on the bond, making the contributions in a regular way, and in addition to that, we would inject money into Social Security in order to stabilize the situation so that we can end the suffering of our seniors.
Okay. Another issue, which is a recurring issue, is the whole issue of water. Cabinet announced that weekly they will have APUA coming to give a report on update to the executive. And we heard the water manager today talking about the whole issue of whether or not there has been sabotage at APUA. So can we hear the audio? Yes. Okay. Okay, so we're going to hear it, but I'd love to hear your response to that in terms of what APUA has been saying, and the whole issue that the Prime Minister was adamant that there was in fact sabotage at APUA.
Yes.
So let's hear.
There are persons within APUA that have been engaged in nefarious activity. That's my term. I think he's the
okay, yes. We'll get back to that.
Are you able to confirm any activities or behavior suggesting sabotage within the APUA business water business unit?
We have not found any evidence of that. The guys within the water business unit, they are committed to the cause. When we come to work, we come to work.
All right.
But when we leave work, we also become customers of the product that we produce.
Yes, I hear that from time to time. From time to time, Darren, we are consumers too.
You heard Miss.
would be sabotaging. I mean, he's trying to hide his own failure. And the fact is, his failure after 8 years is unpardonable, because he came to office promising to fix it. And not having done so, he's tried to duck for cover and blame everyone except himself, his minister, and the cabinet. So I think what Mr. Ian Lewis was able to say and to clarify is that this talk about sabotage at APUA is really a low blow at the workers at APUA, trying to blame them for something that this government is clearly responsible for. And I just want to commend the water business manager and the team that he works with for really doing an outstanding job in a very difficult set of circumstances. And so it's not their fault. The fault lies with those who are charged with managing this country and who have failed to give APUA the adequate resources. And it's interesting that all of a sudden they can find money to do everything to say they're fixing the problem. But for 8 years, they could find nothing. But all of a sudden, you see them finding money to fix this problem.
But what a lot of people have been saying that they find most instructive is that for the many weeks that the Prime Minister has been laying blame to say that they're saboteurs in APUA, we are yet to hear the Minister coming out in defense of his workers.
Well, that's true. And in fact, you're yet to hear the Minister say anything. So I believe the people of Antigua and Barbuda are looking on, and they recognize exactly what is happening, that you have a minister who's literally, some people would say, a non-playing captain in his ministry. He is completely out of the loop, doesn't know what's happening, and he has allowed APUA to drift downwards where so much needs to be done. I heard in the interview with Mr. Lewis discussions about the tank at Montula in Buckley's and the one over at Patterson's, and promising that something is going to be done very shortly. But you can imagine, for all these years, these have been there, nothing has happened. So all in all, I can say that our position has been vindicated. We must keep in the minds of everyone the fact that what they're trying to do is fix the water in 8 weeks for the election. They had 8 years to do so. They failed to do so. And there's no excuse for them having failed except negligence and lack of attention to the real problems of the people and focusing instead on making themselves rich. And that is really the root cause of the problem that we see in Antigua here today.
Okay, I want to shift focus for a bit. The government of Antigua and Barbuda, we see, they have reintroduced the whole issue of Romance Month, which I know was a project for you when you were Minister of Tourism. I want to get your reaction now that the project is back, the event, you know, the celebration is back. What was it like then, and what are your hopes for it with this revival?
Oh yes, well, we welcome what we've been hearing in terms of June as Romance Month, as you indicated quite rightly. This is something that we started over in 2006, and we were able to bring several celebrity guests. We had celebrity weddings, and all in all, it was an excellent idea. And I'm happy to see that it has been revived. And we want to always make sure that the slow period, because it was introduced because in June, we normally had a slow period for tourism, and we put our heads together. And I have to give kudos to the Reed Samuel Whitlock, who at the time was our Director of Tourism in the United States. And a lot of what we were able to do came out of the United States. We are very, very pleased with what we did. And of course, I can't forget that we put on what remains the most spectacular event in June of 2008, which was Antigua and Barbuda's first international music festival, Romantic Rhythms. So we have done our part, and we've ensured that legacy is there, and we're happy to see that this current administration, that they too have seen the vision, and we welcome the new ideas that they have added to Romance Month. And when the government changes, I can assure you that June Romance Month will be even more exciting. Those things that are good we will keep, and we will add new innovations to make sure that we continue the tradition of June as Romance Month for Antigua and Barbuda.
Okay. If we could just move on for a bit, we're talking about Romance Month. Soon after Romance Month will be July, and we're into the carnival season. We have been, for the last 2 years with the COVID pandemic, we were unable to host carnival, and now we're seeing preparations being made for carnival celebrations this year. I want to get your take or your feel as to our state of preparedness and where you see that this is going to make it a successful carnival celebration.
I have to say that I'm very disappointed with what is happening, because Carnival is such an important national festival. And it appears as though it's all about rush and last minute. In the first place, there's been very little discussion, very little engagement with the actual stakeholders for Carnival. I have taken the time to check, and there's been very little discussion and very little engagement with the stakeholders. Now, one of the key areas that I'm concerned about is the service providers. At the last check, I believe service providers are owed just under $1 million. It's about $800,000. You have the people who provide the lights, the people who provide the sound, the people who provide the tents, the people who provide all the various ingredients in order to make Carnival successful and the shows successful. The government owes these service providers money. And you would again have thought less than $1 million, and they have not been able to meet the service providers in a way to allow them to really provide what is needed. Now, you have to remember, we've had a 2-year layoff. And because of that 2-year layoff, we have seen, and I have spoken to many of them, a lot of the equipment has gone dead. Some of the fabric has been subject to dry rot. The lights are not working, because when you put down equipment for 2 years, we're going to have difficulties. Where is the government in all of this? The government is missing in action. They're doing nothing at all to help the real people who make the Carnival and make things happen. And so I can say that during our time, and the service providers will tell you, that during the period of the UPP, I remember one of them said to me, by May, Von Walter would be on the phone and he would be saying, what's the situation? How can we help? And they would at least begin to get money. They would have money that they can begin to do things. They say under this administration, nothing happens. You have nothing going on. They can't get their money. And so it's a really difficult position for all the service providers. In fact, unless they take drastic action, nothing happens. But before we continue, we're going to take a short break at this point, as you know.
Yes.
And with this break, we'll come right back and we'll continue our discussion with Carnival.
Okay. And during the break, for those who said they were unable to hear the clip, we're going to play that clip again with Max Hurst talking about the monies that were taken from Social Security. So we're going to take the break and we'll be right back.
The People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. We offer savings accounts, deposits, fixed deposits, loans, among other related services. You can even become a shareholder by purchasing a minimum of 50 shares at $5 per share. Membership is super easy and convenient. Just visit our newly opened credit union Union Building on Upper Newgate Street, Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. with proof of ID and address, along with $15 to cover registration and passbook, and you'll be set and on your way. For further information, call 462-8888 or 727-2285. People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Today, tomorrow, together.
There was a suggestion by the Prime Minister that there are persons within APUA that have been engaged in nefarious activity. That's my term. I think he used the term sabotage. Have you been able to confirm any activities or behavior suggesting sabotage within the APUA business unit, water business unit?
We have not found any evidence of such.
Okay.
The guys within the water business unit, they are committed to the cause. When we come to work, we come to work.
All right.
But when we leave work, we also become customers of the product that is produced.
Yes, I hear that from time to time. From time to time, Darren, we are consumers too.
And we say welcome back to Captain's Corner. We are on the issue of Carnival and the whole issue of service providers and their readiness for Carnival 2020 and whether or not they'll be paid ahead of this year's celebration.
And that's it, and that's the complaint that they all have, you know. And even things like standardized duty-free. We really need to get that right. And these Antiguans and Barbudans who are business people, small business people, when you choke their businesses by owing them in excess of $100,000, $200,000, and they have equipment to buy, and then they have to come to ask for duty-free. A system needs to be put in place where, as small businesses, duty-free becomes automatic for the persons who are providing these services for Carnival. You must make it easy for them. And I was saying that under the UPP, and I want to repeat it, we didn't always get all the payments on time, but it was never this bad. Never ever was it this bad from a government as we have now that is collecting more money than any other government. There's no excuse for it. And I want to speak and be an advocate for those persons who really need to get this money. You know, in 2019, one of the service providers actually had to stall the show, say nothing is going to happen here until he gets a check. And he got the check. No, we don't want things to have to come to that. And that's one aspect. The other aspect has to do with the mass players. Again, you have a situation now where only 2 bands are going to be on the road for Carnival. And when you would have expected a government in that type of situation to meet with the local mass players and see how the government can assist them to get on board, what assistance can we give you to help you to make sure that you can be part of the celebration this year. They could do nothing. However, the same government is now negotiating with a group out of Trinidad to bring in 500 costumes because things are looking so bad. Things are looking, all the talk you hear them talking, things are not looking good at all. And so they're looking now, instead of seeing how they can help the local people, they're now looking to see how they can outsource and bring in 500 costumes from Trinidad. So that's money going out of the country instead of seeing how they can find a way to circulate dollars in the local economy. So I'm critical of them as far as that is concerned. And I'm saying that a UPP administration would not do that. We would meet with the local stakeholders and we would work out a way in which together we can find solutions to this. And then finally, I want to even mention the fact that the government is not given enough support to the pan. And I'm very disappointed that there is no panorama this year. And panorama is not something that 1 month before panorama you say, will there be panorama? This is something that they should have already been speaking to the bands about, giving the bands assistance, seeing how they can help to get the bands on the road. The private sector is strapped. Have they sought to work with the local businesses? My understanding is that they haven't. To see how they would be able to incentivize the local businesses to help with sponsorship for the bands to make it happen. I mean, the bottom line is we don't need excuses. What we need is the delivery on the product. And the fact that there's no panorama, I don't want us to take that lightly and just think that it's just the night. You know that the weeks leading up to panorama, you have so many of the young school children, they're off the streets, they're gainfully engaged in practice, they're doing something worthwhile. In the end, it's something that they look forward to. You're going to tell me that a government could not find the wherewithal 3-4 months ago to begin to look at it, to see if we're going to have carnival this year, let us make sure that if it's one event we're going to have, it's going to be panorama. What resources can government make available in order to ensure this happens? If the government cannot provide the money, how can you work with the private sector to help to make it happen? Nothing has been done. Yet, the government finds money to bring in foreign artists for Melting Pot. And the money that they're going to pay the artists who are coming in for Melting Pot, that is an unnecessary expense. And why do I say it's unnecessary expense? When the Melting Pot was first introduced many years ago, you didn't have all these carnival fetes. This weekend alone, you're going to have 4 major carnival fetes, pre-carnival fetes. So there's no need for the government to be a competitor with the local promoters who are putting on these fetes. And then the government is also affecting the price structure, because when these artists come from overseas and they hear it's government, immediately the price goes up, and it makes the whole entertainment situation much more difficult. So the government has it all wrong. There's been no discussion. The things that ought to have been treated as priority have not even been considered. Carnival without panorama, I can't see that. It could have been done if they had taken the time to make certain that there was sufficient lead time for them to get the pans and the steel bands organized. That was not done. So my critique is that this year they have done little or nothing to make the festival successful, and what would have helped is if they had brought everyone together and they had been really engaged in discussing with the men and women who make the mass, who make the music, and who provide the services to make Carnival a success. They have gotten it all wrong. They have tried to do it on their own. And then you have the situation with the Queen Show. I'm not even going to go into any detail in that. But I just want to say, why aren't we having a Queen Show? Why aren't we having a Queen Show? The JCs, they're having a Queen Show, bringing contestants from all over the Caribbean. Why is it that they can have the wherewithal as a small service organization and a whole government can't do it? So they end up sending Miss Antigua Labour Party to represent Antigua and Barbuda. But that's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm just saying that the government has not succeeded in doing anything right. Everything they touch is confusion, and it turns to a substandard product.
So what you're saying in short is that the government has dropped the ball in the preparation for Carnival, taking into consideration that a new ministry was created for Michael Brown to come back into cabinet and to manage. You're saying that it just did not work.
It just didn't work. They dropped the ball completely. They obviously don't know what they're doing, and they're just limbering along, hoping for the best. I mean, there are two things that we know will always be successful. Juve will always be successful because it will take earthquake, hurricane, and more for Juve to flop. Everybody knows that. So we can expect that Juve will go. Last lap will always happen. But in terms of the parade of the bands, that's a problem. And that's where the government needed early to get involved and see how they could have given some assistance. Panorama, which is the key cultural event of Carnival, they have dropped the ball completely on that. Nothing is going to happen. The Queen Show, that is a traditional part of Carnival, they've dropped it from the program. They haven't explained anything to anyone. And I mentioned what they're doing now to substitute for that. So it's a mess.
So all the service providers who had great anticipation for Carnival, it might not be realized as they anticipated, is what you're saying, because they're basically competing with government.
I'm a Carnival person and I want to see Carnival succeed. And I'm hoping that something can be done so that we can at least have a decent festival. I'm an Antiguan and Barbudan to the bone. And I don't want people to come for Carnival and believe that it's less than it could be. So I'm really just hoping at this stage that even though it's late in the day, that something can be done to really get things moving. The government needs to step up to the plate. The government needs to have meetings with the people who are there, and they need to find the wherewithal to inject money into Carnival. Those people who they owe, they need to pay them, if not all, a substantial portion, so that we can get the summer festival on the road.
Okay, so that's it for festivals and celebrations. We spoke about Romance Month and now Carnival. But I want to draw your attention to another matter, the whole issue of the the Magistrates Court that was housed in the Knuckle Block complex in Grace Farm. The cabinet notes for this week indicated that it is moving back onto High Street, and I guess it means that the facility will now be handed back to the community. Let's hear your take on that.
Well, I am pleased that at last the Magistrates Court will come out of the community facility and go back to High Street. It has taken far too long. I have to give some commendation to persons like our brother Richard Lewis, who has been very active, very articulate in expressing the disappointment of the Grays Green community not being able to use a facility that was conceived under the United Progressive Party and which was intended to serve as a modern community center with a good basketball facility and rooms that you can meet and the community is allowed to recreate. The community has been robbed of this facility, and at long last, this government is apparently going to move out of Knuckle Block and give the facility back to the community. So I'm very happy for that, and I hope it's not just a false dawn, but I hope indeed they will be moving out so that the community can have the center for their use.
And the genesis of this project is worth repeating because it was in fact a gift. Former Prime Minister and parliamentary representative who negotiated on behalf of his people. Indeed.
Kudos to Honorable Baldwin Spencer, who really looked out to make sure that the Grays Green community would benefit from this very generous gift from the People's Republic of China.
Okay. I want us now to go on to look at the mom program. I know you spoke about it on previous programs, but it's worth repeating, especially at a time when we're now going into the summer vacation. Parents home, some will be home with their children, and we know when children are home, the demands are greater, and I guess it brings into focus more the need for something like a mom's program. Let us talk a bit about that.
Right.
Again.
Now, the MOM program, as you know, is the Maintenance of Minors program. And we've already committed ourselves early in a new UPP administration to put $1 million into the MOM program. The reason why we feel this is important is because children are the essence and the center of everything that we should be doing as far as maintenance is concerned. It's not about the mothers, it's not about the fathers, it's about the children. And now that the school term and in all the various schools is coming to an end, this is a time when a lot of single mothers face a lot of difficulty because you have an economy that's not yet up and running on its feet. And so you have several unemployed fathers. And because of that, there's an extra strain on single mothers in particular. Now with the MOM program, the Maintenance of Minors program, that money that would be put in the account, the mothers would be able to draw down whilst the fathers are out of work. In the meantime, we would work with the welfare department, the family court, and other relevant agencies so that we would help to get fathers jobs so that they can support their children. And from the salaries that they earn, we would deduct the money and put it back into the account. So it would be a rotating fund which we would operate in a way that the children would no longer have to suffer. Of course, some people have been saying, oh, with that program you're going to encourage people to be lazy. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is we will help the fathers to get a job. But it's not a case where we go and help you get a job today and next week you come and say you're out of the job. We help you get a job the week after and you come back and say you work too hard and you don't like it. When it comes to that, then we have the penalties that exist on the books. And that's where I think you need the short, sharp shock. And you do a little time in prison to straighten you out. And then when you come out and we give you the job again, I believe this time you'll be on the job for a lot longer. So it's not that we're encouraging laziness. What we want to do, we want to encourage work, and we'll help people to get jobs. The money comes out of the salary, goes into the fund, we look after the children, and we run a proper program to make certain that our children can be taken care of.
Okay, I think we are due a break. We're going to take the break, but before we go, I just want to say to those of you who are following on Facebook, we thank you so very much for joining. Remember to share the link. We want to say hello to all who are joining. We see we've had persons from as far as Hawaii online, and we want to say thank you very much for being part of Captain's Corner for tonight. We're going to take a break, and then we'll continue with more. Stay tuned.
Time to join the family at the People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. We offer savings accounts, deposits, fixed deposits, loans, among other related services. You can even become a shareholder by purchasing a minimum of 50 shares at $5 per share. Membership is super easy and convenient. Just visit our newly opened credit union building on Upper Newgate Street, Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. with proof of ID and address, along with $15 to cover registration and passbook, and you'll be set and on your way. For further information, call 462-8888 or 727-2285. People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Today, tomorrow, together.
But just feel like people not understand me. I don't want to even give me a chance. Go to school, I'm a hard skill. I'm a hard worker, but there's just not enough jobs out there. The economy is so bad that I'm ashamed to say that we're in the year 2022 and water hardly won near the pipe. Now them can't tell how we, in order to get a job, I must take the job. I understand the vaccine is a good thing and all that. But I just hate the fact that it's mandated. It's my body, it's my choice. I shouldn't be denied a job, education, or benefits because the choices I make for my body. For me, this time, personally, the UP.
And we say welcome back to our final segment on the Captain's Corner. And for those of you who might have joined us a little late, just to let you know that next week, we will not be here next week because we will be at the King George V grounds for a public rally. We're all invited to be in King George grounds next Thursday, the 30th, for a public rally. And the campaign continues. There are people who are asking what's new in the campaign, what's happening next. I guess this is where we're showing that yes, we are back and we are continuing.
Definitely. We're expecting the election anytime now.
Yes.
The Prime Minister seems to be dodging and hiding. He said to me some time ago that I should call the election date. I've said to him, we're ready, call it now. But he's finding all kind of excuses why he can't call the election now. And of course, they know that there's a wind of change running in Antigua right now, blowing in the wind. And it's just a matter of time before this change comes to Antigua and Barbuda. Now, we know what it is that is important. We've put our programs on the table in terms of how we're going to address the cost of living. That's one of our main things, and we want to be able to be in a position to execute as far as this program is concerned. All that they're doing, because we're not seeing anything new coming from this government. They have no new ideas. They have their minions on the radio just running up their mouth, trying to find ways to attack me for whatever reason. I mean, I listened to some folks on a radio station just today, and they had some others a few days ago, and that seems to be their preoccupation. But it makes me realize that obviously we're doing something right, because if we weren't doing something right, then you wouldn't see them in this mode where they're trying to see how they can destroy me by attacking me on a daily basis. But quite frankly, the one today I found, I mean, it was like a 2-hour comedy session. I mean, it really was like a 2-hour comedy session. You had, again, 3 persons. Again, you know, I know them. I've spoken about them. I'm not going to spend too much time on them, really, because these are really small fry. And, you know, we don't want to spend too much time on the small fry. But, you know, Muscle Man was there. Oh, boy, he was really upset that I exposed him with that issue that I spoke about a few weeks ago, because, you know, he's trying to make a lot of excuses, but, you know, he can't get away from it. The fact is, you know, we have a very low tolerance for men who brutalize women. We just don't believe in that. And, you know, I'm sorry if he's offended that I had to out him, but the fact is, when you are out there criticizing people, and, you know, they were on the case with Sister Gladys, and you can imagine he's laughing, trying to make fun of Sister Gladys Potter, forgetting that not so long ago, you know, he earned himself the nickname Mr. Stutter, Mr. Stammer, and he was supposed to be talking about agriculture, and, you know, it was as though he was having a heart attack. But he's there. Can you imagine? He's actually criticizing people. You have to just laugh. No, he's drawing taxpayers' money, because, again, I checked it out, and they've been trying to find a meaningful job for him. They haven't been very successful. My understanding is that they're supposed to get an office for him at agriculture. And guess what the job is? He's supposed to be in charge of government tractors, the bank, what do you call it? The rotavators, the rototillers, and the bankers. He's supposed to be responsible for all those. So when his job now is to walk around and say, we have 8 tractors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 2 of them have puncture. one of them engine cut out. That's what he's come to. And he's on the radio criticizing people. And the only thing the Labour Party can find to him, wasting taxpayers' money when they have nothing for him to do and giving him money from the taxpayers. He's on radio doing the bidding of these folks. So, Musselman, all I can say to him, I pity his simplicity. And we move on as far as he's concerned. And then, you know, you have Comrade Fences. And Comrade Fences now, he was in a tizzy because, oh my, he knows what happened. You know, we protected him. And he was on his rampage and saying a lot of things. But again, the Labour Party trying to find work to say they have these people doing something. They do absolutely nothing. They're jokers. And, you know, they put him in charge of this innovation park. And 4 years after the innovation park came into existence, you have neither innovation nor park. And it was being done in collaboration with UN Ops. And UN Ops did not renew the contract. They've pulled out. They've gone about their business. And some people think it's as a result of the poor management. But the point is, when you ask him, what have you produced? You know, under this Labour Party, at least on the UPP, we tried to, you know, make something out of him. But on the Labour Party, when you have a party and a government with no ideas, and then you have someone who doesn't know what he's doing, I mean, poor guy, totally at sea, didn't know what he's doing. But the sweetest one was Miss Piggy. Well, Miss Piggy now, she was there and she was on and on and on. And she was doubling down about this thing with Odebrecht, you know, trying to make accusations against me. I'm sure you've heard me say that she's in court. I have her in court right now for that. And the fact that she's doubling down, and it seems as though she's prepared to make the case that this is obviously malicious, because everything she's saying, it's laced with malice. You can see there's malice dripping from it. So when you have that sort of malicious intent in a libel case, one, you go for aggravated damages and exemplary damages. But remember, Gaston Brown already said he's going to pay. So she has a sponsor. So I'm comfortable with that. She can't say she doesn't have the money when she has to pay. So between herself and Gaston Brown, they're going to have to come with some good money in order to deal with the serious defamation that they're coming with. So I look at them, I lean back, and I laugh, because I say, look at these people. They were with the UPP one time. They all benefited from the UPP. UPP was the greatest thing when we were in power, and they could get something out of it. Now that we are out of power, they jump ship. They're taking taxpayers' money, and all that they're doing is going on the radio and cursing, and nothing constructive. The country's going to hell in a handbasket, and they have nothing to say. No sensible comments on anything. Just pure rubbish. A comedy hour with rubbish. So I just want to say to Comrade Fences, Musselman, and Miss Piggy, keep on keeping on. I mean, you really give me an opportunity to get a good laugh. So I know you, and I know what you're all about. Nothing but 3 mercenaries being paid to try and smear my name. But trust me, you will not succeed, because no weapon formed against me shall prosper. So take that in your pipe and smoke it.
Okay. But you made the point in all of this, is that here is a government trying to stay in power, but yet discerning people who might not be following one particular party or the other might want to know, what is it that the incumbent is doing for me to hold on, to keep them in power? we have not heard anything about policies, new policies, new investment, new anything. So what then will they bring to the people?
This is a totally failed government. When you ask, what have you brought to the table in the 8 years that you've been there? I mean, this is a time for the UPP to really beat the drum and blow the horn. When you look at what we had accomplished after 8 years, and you look at what they have not accomplished after 8 years, there's no new investment, no new jobs have been created. They've had to bring the public sector to a point where every job that is created is taxpayers that have to foot the bill. They have not successfully been able to energize the private sector. They have alienated the private sector. They're the only ones who are doing well in this economy. And we have to change this administration because the country is in a tight squeeze at the moment. And you see, they owe so many people. I mean, this is a government that will go into the Guinness Book of Records for the amount of people they owe and how much they owe them. They owe everybody. I was speaking to a businessman the other day. They owe him over $3 million. I was speaking to another one, is $800,000. Another one, $500 and something thousand. They just owe everybody and they're not paying anybody. And as a result of that, a lot of businesses are going down. Some have had to sell whatever little assets they have. They've had to get overdrafts from the bank, incur high interest charges. They can't pay their suppliers. They can't pay their creditors. They're squeezing the local economy, and it's not a level playing field. And that's what a lot of them are complaining about. Is friend and company, is like and prefer. It's not fair. The local business people in particular, government is competing with them. You cannot see where you're going if you're a local business person in Antigua. We need to change that. And you know, our programs are designed to make certain that we energize the local business sector. Our programs are designed to make sure that we give our local business people an opportunity, especially the small business people. And we have good news, especially for young people who want to get into business. We have designed the YES program, the Young Entrepreneurs Setup. And that is what's going to revolutionize and completely change the business environment in Antigua and Barbuda. We have the policies, we have the programs. We are better for your pocket, and we are better in terms of our ability to stimulate the economy. Under our watch, look at the amount of new hotel rooms that were constructed, providing jobs in the operational phase when the hotel is completed, and in the construction phase when it was being built. I mean, I don't need to reel them off again, but there's so many. I never thought a government could perform so badly. It's cheese to chalk when you look at what we achieved and what they achieved. You look at the amount of small hotels that we were able to incentivize and get on the road. They've done nothing of the sort. No new programs. All the social programs that are being used to bring relief to people, all of those programs were designed under the UPP. 28 years before, they didn't design any social programs to help people. The UPP did all the social programs they're now depending on. And since they've come in, nothing new. So they're a failed experiment, and we're very excited, we're very energized, and we know what needs to be done. It's not going to be easy. However, with serious people, we have a very good team who are all committed to turning this country around and making Antigua and Barbuda a better place for all of us. And that's why we say that the UPP is the right choice. Because if it, oh man, I don't want to say it, but there can be no alternative other than to change this wicked, heartless, careless, negligent government.
Yes, and it bears repeating what has happened in Grenada tonight, where we had an incumbent, 2 consecutive elections, clean sweep, and a prime minister who has been in politics for however long. The people have decided that enough has become too much. And we have to realize that the power is in the hands of the people.
That's absolutely right.
The prime minister said he would ask you to call the election date. How prepared are you and your team? Should the election be called any time now?
I indicated we are ready. We have been ready. He's the one who's delaying. He's the one who's ducking and hiding. He's the one who is afraid. He doesn't want to call an election because the writing has been on the wall for some time. And if you walk around Antigua today, this is the most unpopular prime minister in the history of Antigua and Barbuda. V.C. Bird was never this unpopular. Never. Lester Bird, even when he lost in 2004, was never this unpopular. And certainly Baldwin Spencer was never this unpopular. He is by far the most unpopular prime minister ever in the history of Antigua and Barbuda.
So the call remains, call the election.
The call remains, call the election now, and we're ready. And the focus of our campaign is not about personality assassination. They go on the radio every Saturday. All that he can do is lick down people, curse people, throw people under the bus. That's all he does. He takes no responsibility for anything. We need to hear solid programs. Programs like what we are putting on the table. The maintenance of minors program to help single mothers in particular. Make sure our children are taken care of. The proposals we've put to address the high cost of living. Reduce the duty on essential food items. Reduce the duty on building materials, because building materials have gone up significantly. And the reason why we say we can reduce the duty is because the government is still getting more tax, because the goods are coming in at a higher price, because the transportation costs and the product costs have gone up significantly. So when the government puts the tax on the higher price, the government is getting even more taxes. So reduce the duty, that's what we're saying. And we look at other things like the ABST and the RRC.
Yes.
Which are the taxes you pay at the port, and see how we can find ways to make it easier for our people. And the government would not be losing anything, because they would not have anticipated the huge spike in prices with the goods that are landed in Antigua. And so they need to pass on those benefits to the people so that people can get a little ease from this terrible squeeze that's going on. And they need to find the right mechanism to pay all the people that they owe, because they owe so many people that a lot of businesses are going under, and they do not have the international credibility. I mean, look at what happened with the bond recently.
Yes.
They tried to get a bond for $200 million US, 540 million EC, and it flopped. It crashed, and up to now they have not come and said, they have not come to the people to say what happened. They're treating it as some sort of big secret. We want to know what happened. They were loud when they were saying that it's oversubscribed and they have all this money and so on. What has happened? Why is it that you had this bond and up to now nobody can hear anything about this bond, and you had to admit only when you were questioned that the bond has crashed, it has flopped? And
further, what are the implications for those projects for which the money was being raised?
That's right, because
what happens now?
You have they were planning to put money in Liat, Jolly Beach, and some of these other areas, but because it has flopped, they have no ideas how to get out of it. And so you find now that it's just raw desperation. Everything that they do now is driven by raw desperation. That's all.
I know you might not want to say much, but in terms of investment and looking for investments, you have been, and your team have been doing some work in that regard. I don't know how much you can say at this point, but the fact is that you have been looking to see for UPP government new areas of investment. Local investment and foreign direct investment, because you cannot develop an economy without investment. Money makes the mayor go. You must pump money into the economy. And we're looking at a number of innovative strategies. For example, one of the strategies that we're going to roll out, and we'll see that, which will be of great benefit to all those who are owed by government, we are going to introduce a relief program whereby we are going to find the resources so that we can pay the people who are owed by government. Now, this is not just because it is the right thing to do, because obviously it is the right thing to do. If government owes people, you have to pay them. However, this will also act as an economic stimulus. We see this as an opportunity
to get businesses rolling again. Businesses will be able to carry out renovations. They'll be able to expand their staff complement, employ workers. They will be able to restock. And generally, they will be able once again to participate fully in the economic life of the country. They'll be able to offer sponsorship because we'll incentivize those things. As it is now, things are so tough that it's difficult for any form of cultural, sporting, or other activity that's dedicated to improving the lives of people to get any kind of sponsorship from the business community, because everybody's bawling how things are so tight and the fact that government owes them money. So we need to get that money back into the economy, and the best and fairest way to do it is to make certain that we can pay the suppliers, pay the vendors, get them working again, get the money circulating in the economy, and that's how we're going to begin to revive this economy. That can be done. We know it can be done, and it's all about your priorities. I made the point. This government can find money to pay 100 and 200,000 US for foreign artists, but they can't find money to help the pan. So where are their priorities? And they don't need the foreign artists because you already have enough local producers who are doing that within the private sector, small business. It's a waste of money. So they find money for things that they want to find. Of course, we know when the Lukes was in a problem, they found money to bail out the Lukes. They find money to do what they want to do. We're going to have to restructure our expenditure profile. We're going to have to cut out a lot of the waste that is taking place, a lot of what is happening now. I mean, I've heard about things that are taking place in some of the ministries. And once we carry out the audits and we investigate what is happening in some of those ministries, we know we'll be able to effect savings. I mean, what happened, for example, with the e-books, that total waste of money, that could never happen under any administration that I may lead. Because those things will not be driven, those projects will not be driven by a desire for self-enrichment. They will be properly executed, where you put it out to tender, you get the best value for the money, and make certain that you treat taxpayers in a respectful way, and you do not waste money that you don't have, that you don't have. So we can see the way. I mean, having served as Minister of Tourism, having served as Minister of Finance, I can say that the task will not be easy, but the task is one that we can do. What we will need to recognize is that nothing can be done without people, and therefore it will be very, very important for us to involve and engage the people of Antigua, bring the country together, cut out all this nonsense that goes on every Saturday with the Prime Minister, creating divisions in the country, creating hatred in the country, having his minions just cursing and trying to bring people down. That can't carry the country anywhere. We need to have a government that understands that it will take the collective will and the collective ingenuity of the people of Antigua and Barbuda, led by a caring government. That's how we're going to really turn this country around. It can be done, and it will be done. All we're saying to the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, call the election now. We are ready. If you are not ready, the people of Antigua and Barbuda are ready to get rid of you.
That sounds so much like a conclusion, but I will just ask finally, why UPP, why the team to redeem, and your closing remarks in one go.
Why UPP? Because UPP, first of all, has a demonstrated track record. So we're not a party that's just coming out of the blue with no track record. We have a history behind us. Our history is one where, during our tenure, more hotel rooms were built than at any previous period. The only period that comes close is the period of 1989 on the Leicester Bird, when they did Jolly Harbor and that area. That is the only period that compares. But when you look at what we did over the 10 years that we were in government, it wasn't just one big project. We had several projects and expansion. So as far as the economy is concerned, we've played our part. As far as local investment is concerned, we put programs in place that stimulated local investment. When it comes to looking after the people, we also have a proud record there. We've introduced programs that benefit people, and we've been able to show that with compassion, you can get your people, you can take care of your people. Politically, we created an environment which was much freer. People could, as they say, talk as you like. We were able to bring benefits to the entire country by that free spirit that we encouraged in Antigua and Barbuda. So politically, economically, socially, the UPP has the track record. And going forward, we have the programs. Again, in terms of our trust for investment, we have already put together our investment guide. I've been to the Dominican Republic along with the Deputy Political Leader, Jamal Pringle. I've been to Panama. So we've already made the necessary contacts, or some of the contacts, and we will be able to bring persons here to Antigua who can invest money to help to create jobs for our people. We have shown, and our programs will be aimed at stimulating local investment. We will create and encourage companies, cooperatives, societies where our people can come together and build businesses together. We will do everything to get rid of that terrible notion that partnership is leaky ship. We want to promote partnerships and promote longevity in businesses operated by Antiguans and Barbudans. We'll create a level playing field so that our people don't have to feel as though they have to scratch in order to get ahead. We will make sure that we can do that. And as a priority, as I indicated before, we will make sure that one of our first acts will be to pump money into the economy by paying all those people that the government owes to free up and liberate their businesses so that we can get them on track and we can get the economy up and running. So it's a bright future ahead. We know we have the wherewithal to do it, and we are seeking the opportunity so that we can bring a better life to the people of this country.
UPP, the right choice.
And UPP, the right choice. And next week, Thursday, UPP, the right choice for your pocket.
Okay.
The right choice for your pocket. Come and hear the exciting programs that we have that will benefit the people of this country and bring an ease to this terrible squeeze.
Okay, thanks. And before we go, I just have to say a shout out to Wendy in Mexico. When I was doing the shout out earlier, I didn't call you. Wendy in Mexico, good night, enjoy. And to my folks in Canada, good night to you too. Good to know that you're all logged on and being part of Captain's Corner this evening. Remember, we will not be here next week, but we'll be airing the public rally from the King George V grounds. But we'll be back the following week. So until then, on behalf of the Captain, Harold Lovell, I'm Shawn Nicholas saying good night.
There was a suggestion by the Prime Minister. There was a suggestion by the Prime Minister that there are persons within APUA that have been engaged in nefarious activity. That's my term. I think he used the term sabotage. Have you been able to confirm any activities or behavior suggesting sabotage within the APUA business unit, water business unit?
We have not found any evidence of such.
Okay.
The guys within the water business unit, they are committed to the cause. When we come to work, we come to work.
All right.
But when we leave work, we also become customers of the product that we produce.
Yes, I hear that from time to time. From time to time, Darren, we are consumers too.
We acknowledge that Leopard borrowed money from the Social Security, but it was loaded with money because the demands made on it at the time were not that many, and they had lots of money, and they deposited these monies in the banks, and they got 2 and 3% interest on them. They had these CDs all over in virtually every bank. So the government of Antigua and Barbuda borrowed, and to be quite frank, they didn't repay.
My father died when I was just 5 years old. My mother came from Willikie's village. She had 5 young mouths to feed, and she toiled on her sewing machine to make ends meet.
She was a strong woman who taught us right from wrong. And even though she struggled, the choices she made put us on the right path. I made the choice to work hard, play by the rules, and get an education. I had a number of opportunities, but I chose to return to Antigua and inspire the next generation. I taught at the Antigua Grammar School, and it's here that I saw firsthand how education transforms lives. I made the choice to get into politics because of the lack of resources that I saw in our schools. I saw how our teachers and families struggled whilst an elite few got ahead. When the people granted us the opportunity to serve in government, we had a lot of work to do. As Minister of Finance, I helped to clean up the rot of 30 years of one-party rule. We saw our country through the global financial crisis and the Stanford collapse. Through all of that, we introduced the school meals program, the school uniform program, and laptops for children. While we were not perfect, no one is perfect but Almighty God. We worked day in and day out to defend the nation and put people first. Today I see too many families struggling for a lack of jobs and the mental stress that comes with it. The cost of living is out of control. And for too many of us, water is still not readily available. And our needed pension checks are not coming on time. While the elite few did well, the ABLP denied you the right to choose what you put in your body. Whilst we believe in vaccines, we don't believe it's the responsibility of government to control your bodies. We will bring an end to all the mandates. This election is about choice, and we believe that we are the right choice because we give you the choice.